for the puppies. So puppies
Right.
can be a lot more work, and you're going to need puppy pads, and you're going to need rubber gloves, because when we handle puppies, we wear gloves, and we change gloves in between litters because we don't want any cross contamination. You may want to cover your crates. You might want crate covers. Crates, of course, is another thing. I find that Facebook Marketplace, garage sales, those kind of places are way better than buying at a pet store. Just because they're expensive. I scrounged them for one group. I probably bought and donated 70, 80 crates at least myself. But we'd give them to the overnighters because it was always hard to get people to overnight. Say, oh, well, yeah, come on down late Saturday night. We'll give you the dog. It might be a little earlier, but, and then you're going to come back here early in the morning. Of course, we give them a dog that's been in a car all day. They're all jacked up. Or puppies are all jacked up. So they're up till 2 in the morning. They have to get up early in the morning to bring the dog back. So it's no big picnic and say, oh, by the way, you need to buy a crate. So we've tried to provide as much as we can. But, it's whatever I do, it's like another donation out of my pocket, which is fine. I'm not complaining. I'm lucky to do what I do.
Yeah. So
other things you might need, if you're working for nonprofit groups, 501c3, you can claim your mileage. If you itemize, you might want a little book just to keep track of your runs. You might want a little clipboard to print out your runs so you have all the information right there in case your phone dies or whatever. You're going to want cleaning supplies, paper towels and wipes and that kind of stuff in case there's an accident. Maybe some earplugs in case you get some barkers. Leashes. A good slip lead is probably the most important thing that any driver can have. A good locking slip lead. And what I mean by that, it's got like a little leather slide that slides right up in place to keep it from getting loose. And it keeps the dog from backing out of the leash. And I can tell you, double leash. I can tell you how many times the slip lead has saved the day. Even on animals in a crate. I've had crates fail and they had their slip leads on them, and because I've had crates just fall apart, middle sections, whatever. Some of them are not secured with bolts. Some are like little twisty things. And I've had that happen. I've had animals that tried to run under cars, and if it wasn't for slip leads, we'd have been spending time chasing the dog around the parking lot. And, first, the dog's not going to come to you because the dog doesn't know you. The dog's scared. You're usually near a highway. We have had animals got lost on transport, and unfortunately, they've been killed. It's rare. It's usually because somebody didn't follow a protocol or there was some type of equipment failure. But if you followed every protocol, then chances are it didn't happen.
Right.
Usually it's a failure by somebody that, they got a harness on, so I don't need a slip lead. Well, I tell you, harnesses, a lot of people swear by them, but harnesses, if they don't fit right or you get the right dog. Heck, I had a Shar-Pei last week that had a really tiny head. I was afraid my slip lead was going to slide off her head. But, I made sure that I kept myself in a position where she wasn't pulling away from me, and that, I was careful with it, because I've experienced enough to know I don't want to lose one today or any day. And I've transported myself over 2,400 animals, mostly dogs.
That's a lot.
100 plus cats, a couple lizards, a bunny, 3 pigs. Not together. That's 3 separate ones.
Okay. So what are most of your transports within New York, or do you do most of them out of New York, or is it kind of just a mixture?
Personally, I haven't left the state of New York since COVID hit, but runs most, it's like a relay. It's legs. A lot of them go, like one group I work with, they bring dogs from Kentucky every week, and they overnight in Syracuse before they disperse on Sunday in different directions to Canada or Massachusetts or down to Rhode Island and New York City area, New Jersey. Because the receiving rescues get a message from the volunteers at the shelter saying, I got this dog or that dog, and they say, we'd like that one. And they say, okay, we'll take them. Then the dog's name is on a list to the transport coordinator who plugs them into the different driving slots, and then people sign up and say, oh, I could take 3 dogs, I could take 3 big dogs, 3 little dogs, I have crates for this or that or the other. And it's a pretty hard, fast rule, and it varies from group to group, but in general, it's if you're going to tether, no more than 2 tethers per car, and if altogether possible, you separate them front and back, because you never know with stress, even dogs that have been together, sometimes the stress of transport can cause issues, so, and we don't always know these dogs as well as we'd like to think we do. So it's always, I prefer to crate whenever possible, just because it's safer for me, it's safer for the dog. Some people don't, some people can't. I mean, some people are driving little cars and they don't have room for a big crate, but they can take one big dog in the back seat, tethered fine. So,
Yeah. So I got a question for you. We've got about 5 minutes left, and so we're going to have to wrap up shortly. But regarding, I think when I talked with you originally, I told you about a girl that was, of course, that was last minute, and it seems like everyone has all these last minute requests. And you told me that it takes several days. Now, on an average, how many days does it take to set this up? Because I think people need to hear that so they know they can't wait until the last minute and expect it to be able to happen, like, oh, the next day or something.
In most cases, the runs go up a week or 2 in advance.
Okay.
And that means it's already set up, and then it's got to fill. If it doesn't fill, then it gets postponed, and then hopefully most of the drivers can still fill their spot, but some of them can't. And it's a lot to refill a run, especially if it's over 1 or 2 legs. But we do whatever we can in that case by tagging people, tagging the run itself so it bumps up in the thread so it's at the top of the page instead of way down at the bottom, so it gets noticed more. But it's a lot sometimes, but we have a lot of dedicated people out there, drivers that may be too busy to do it, but when they see it get down to a last leg, they'll change their plans just to do a leg to get so the run doesn't fail.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to run to fail.
Right. So realistically, it sounds like somebody should at least prepare a couple weeks in advance, right?
I've seen them go a little bit faster. I've seen them go in as little as a few days, but it takes a lot of work by the coordinator to really hustle, and you have to have a good knowledge of drivers in the areas that they're driving through. And that's not always the case. A lot of these groups only run certain geographical areas all the time, so when they get something different, then they're out of their their comfort zone, so to speak. But that's why these coordinators, or our coordinator in particular, Anne Marie, she helps out as much as she can, and she actually is part of another group that they started called just Transport Coordinator Group, and that's just all it is. Coordinators trying to, oh, do you know a driver in this area, or what do you do when a driver does this or that, trying to like a support group, I guess.
Right. So, Jon,
but a week minimum is definitely a 2 is better, because usually if you got dogs, you want them in foster for 2 weeks, you have that time, to get them in foster, get their health certificates done, get them on the road and all that, but it's a lot, and the longer the run, the harder it is. Sometimes they even have they'll have them overnight for the week if they have to go like cross country, because they'll only go halfway, because most people can only drive on the weekend. So most of the driving's done Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Some carry over into Mondays. It depends on the group, and if they have their regular drivers, they can fill them, but and that's why a lot of times they only do their own rescues.
Yeah. So, Jon, could you please tell everybody, because we're going to have to wrap up here in a couple seconds, or a couple minutes, how to look up your Facebook group and to either get involved to help you, or if they had a need for a transport.
Okay. Well, we're the Underbone Railroad. We're a Facebook group, and you can find us. We are a public group, so we're available for anybody to see. To join, you request to join, and we have membership questions that are asked, just general information, try to weed out, breeders or, paid transport people that we don't necessarily want there. And they answer them, then an admin approves them or disapproves them. And then once they're added, then they could post to be a driver. They'd let us, we'll add them to our state list. They could post the runs, and then we'll do whatever we can to help them out. Some of them don't have a set run sheet for a particular area, and another coordinator will say, "Oh, I have one," and then they get together on instant message and they share that information. That so everybody's trying to work together. Nobody's like, "Oh, you can't poach my drivers," kind of stuff, because that's just not how we work it.
All right. Well, Jon, I want to thank you very much for being with me. It always goes really quick, but you mentioned a lot of things I wasn't aware of, and I hope you've helped the people that are listening. So thanks for being with me today. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, I appreciate you getting the word out, because the bottom line for all of us is we're just trying to get the animals to their new homes, their second lives, their second chance, whatever you want to call it, new beginning. And we'll keep doing this one by one until there are none.
Great. Thank you. All right, everybody. Remember that a lost pet can't tell anyone where it lives, so please be sure your pets are microchipped and wearing their ID tags. And if it is chipped, be sure that chip is registered and up to date. Thanks for joining us today. And until next time, take care and keep your pets safe.